Welcome in. I'm so happy to see you. Today on Gigi Says What Now, we're going to talk about Anne Green. No. Not Anne of Green Gables. Are you new here? If you are, I'm so happy to see you. Maybe you'll hit that subscribe button. Um, anyway, even if you don't, I'm happy you're here. No, we're going to talk about Anne Green, like news from the dead. Because, Gigi Says What Now, we kind of go dark sometimes. And this one is dark. Be forewarned. We've got some trigger warnings. We've got miscarriage. We've got grape. We've got court cases. We've got unjust court cases. We've got it gets crazier than that. So let's go. We're going to talk about Anne Green. Anne Green was born in 1628 in the UK in a place called Steeple Barton, Oxfordshire. I just love a name that ends in shire. Makes me think of Frodo. Sweetie, what's the matter? My doggy wants out. Hold on, I'll be right back. KK. So I really couldn't find anything much about Anne Green or her parents or her childhood or how she grew up or whatever. But I guess it's really not that relevant. I mean, I would love to have that information. If you know, please drop it down in the comments or give me some links. I would love to read more. I did go quite down the rabbit hole for this one. But anyway, so we're going to start off when Anne Green was 22. When she was 22, she worked for a man, a justice of the peace, called Sir Thomas Reed. Now, she worked as a scullery maid. If you don't know what a scullery maid is, it's like a dishwasher, basically. She's kind of like the lowest rung of household servants. And so she got this job. She's working. She's doing her thing. Right. When it's said, she said, actually, the way she put it, kind of like she was seduced by Sir Thomas Green's grandson. His name was Geoffrey Green. Now Geoffrey Green was 16. I know what you're thinking. Oh, I thought it too. Like, gross. But let's look at it in a bigger context, a different context, right? In this period of time, women had very little to no rights, and particularly women of a certain socioeconomic class. She was basically seen as property and probably treated like property. And Geoffrey Green would have had a huge power dynamic over her, even though he wasn't her employer. He was the grandson of her employer and a man. Well, a boy, but male. So those two things gave him quite a bit of power over her. And you take that and you couple it with the fact that he's been described to be lecherous. If you don't know what lecherous is, please go look it up. So yeah, I think we can kind of assume that she was victimized, right? She was a victim. So this happens, and we're sure that this happened. This isn't just an accusation. And the reason why we're sure of it, I am struggling. Okay, so let's jump ahead. 14 weeks after this encounter, she is getting really, really sick, and she's struggling, and her co-employees describe her struggles. And she couldn't get through her shift. She couldn't wash the dish. She was, for like a month, she was really struggling. So she says that she didn't know that she was pregnant. She'd been sick for a month, right? So she says she didn't know she was pregnant. And I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, how can you be 17 weeks pregnant? Wait, the math will math in a second. How could she not know she was pregnant? Well, I mean, first of all, it's happened. And second of all, we're talking about a point in time and a place in history where to talk about women's struggles, it would have been considered taboo. It wasn't something that you did, right? So talking about menstruation, talking about pregnancy. These are things that really kind of didn't happen, and now Janice is in it. One of these days I'm going to make a good video for you guys, I swear. So it may have very well been that she had no idea, right? Being just that uneducated. It may have been that she suspected but didn't want to believe it. It may have been that, yeah, she knew and she just didn't want to admit it. The bottom line is we're never going to know. We don't know. This is a story from the 1600s, and we only have the information we have, right? So anyway, she's struggling for a month. She can't do her job or whatever, and so she's really sick, and she goes into the bathroom one day, or the privy, for some privacy, and she delivers a 17-week-old fetus, and it's stillborn. Just to kind of put that in context for you, a 17-year-old fetus is going to be the size of maybe a large onion, or a kitten, right? And so it's not alive anyway. It's stillborn, and she's, she freaks out. First of all, this is a physically traumatic event, and if she really didn't know she was pregnant, it was probably mentally like, what the hell? What just happened? And if she did know she was pregnant, and I mean, no matter what, she had to have been devastated, but she was definitely freaking out. So she did something that she shouldn't have done, but she did, and she took the fetus, the corpse, and buried it, or hid it. Hid it is what I got. Hid it was all I could find. So I don't know how much time goes by, and I don't know how. I could not, with all that I read and all the rabbit holes I went down, I could not figure out how Thomas Green found it, but he did. To be with child out of wedlock, that day and age, no matter how that baby got in there, it was highly frowned upon. And there were laws that governed that social consciousness. And one of those laws was the Birth of Bastards Act of 1624. Now, under this act, there was a legal presumption that any death of an illegitimate child that was concealed was considered red rum, if you get what I'm saying. So Sir Thomas Green, being a justice of the peace, he finds this, and he takes her, and he has her arrested and tries her for... So there was a midwife that testified to the presumption that the fetus was indeed around 17 weeks gestation. And she also, the midwife also testified that given the appearance of the remains, that the pregnancy wasn't viable. Like, there was nothing she could do. It was stillborn. It was gonna be stillborn. There was no way she was gonna carry it to term. And so that kind of, that kind of testimony is on her behalf. It doesn't change the fact that, she didn't disclose it, and she dealt with it on her own. So she was found guilty, right? And the sentence then for that type of crime was the death penalty. She was subject to, you know what I'm saying? I'm whispering these words like the TOS isn't going to catch it. But yeah, that's what happened. It was a capital punishment case, and she was found guilty and received the maximum sentence. Okay, well, this area and this time, that kind of execution, that kind of punishment would have been carried out. But there wouldn't have been like a drop that would cause internal decapitation. They would literally put around and wait until the person passed of asphyxiation. And it wasn't uncommon, and it happened in Anne's case as well, where friends literally grabbed on her on her legs and pulled on her. One soldier actually took his musket and to try to expedite the process. And it got so bad that a sheriff actually stepped in and was like, whoa, you guys, get off of her because you're going to break the rope. So this goes on for a half an hour before she is declared. The sentence has been carried out, let's say. So they take her corpse and they put it into the coffin and they send her to the university. Or donating your body for education or for science, if that's what you choose to do. My father donated his to a medical university for students to practice on. That's sad. If you consent, okay, and consent is key. It is the key word here. If that's what you choose to have done with your body after death, I'm all for it. Anne was a woman and a convicted criminal. She had no consent. But anyway, her body was placed into a casket or a coffin, I'm not sure which. And if you don't know the difference, it's basically one's a squarish or rectangular and the other does this. Anyway, so she's sent to the university and sits there on a slab. Doctors William Petty and Thomas Wells. Thomas was a really popular name back then. Shout out Tom, I guess. Anyway, so they come in the morning, you know, in the early morning hours, just after the sun has risen. And as they wiped the sleep from their eyes, they open her casket to get to work and they find her alive. For real. She's struggling to breathe. She has the faintest of heartbeat, but she is certainly alive. So they get to work trying to save her. I mean, they were aghast and they're frantic and they pour some hot cordial down her throat. Hot cordial, if you don't know, is just a sweet, warm drink, beverage, it's non-alcoholic. They pour it down her throat. You know, they're massaging her limbs, trying to get the blood to flow. They let her blood. They apply some toxin to her breast, and they administered a tobacco smoke enema. They literally blew smoke up her ass. So yeah, actually, the idiom to blow hot smoke originates from the literal practice of tobacco smoke enemas, a past medical procedure where smoke was blown into the rectum to treat various ailments. They did that to her. And then they placed her in a bed next to another woman who cuddles her and like massages her to keep her warm. And by morning, she's literally like alert and talking. She's got a bit of amnesia, doesn't really remember what's going on. Dum, dum, dum. Like, no, for real, this isn't Dallas. I don't know who shot JR. Like, this shit happened. Right, so she comes to, and I swear to God, 3 days later, Sir Thomas, Grandpa Tom, he passes away. And then within 2 weeks of him passing away, she's fully up and around and eating and getting her memory back. And within a month, she's all better. 100%. Doing just fine. Just great. Well, some people didn't like that. They didn't like that a lot. After all, she was convicted of what she was convicted of. She was a horrid, wretched woman. But they chose to not re-sentence her or try to carry out the sentence because they said, what did they say? Like, it was a divination of God and proof of her innocence or some shit like that. I wrote it down. Hold on. She shockingly recovered quickly. After only 14 hours, she began to speak and Yeah, I scripted this. I'm sorry. I'm just reading it because I'm struggling. Could I do this at a later date? I could. I could. But I'm not gonna. Okay. It was the hand of God that saved her. That's literally what I just said. So since she was saved by the literal hand of God, they weren't going to re-prosecute her. Now this pissed a lot of people off, and they came full-blown, you know, pitchforks and torches is what I'm trying to say. They came full pitchforks and torches after her. Maybe not really, but you know, they were pissed. And some soldiers stepped in and said, whoa, 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 what we're not gonna do here. You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, she ended up, for her own safety, going to live with some friends in the country. And she chilled out there with her for a while. She eventually did get married, and then she passed 15 years later due to complications delivering her third baby. And that's the story of Anne Green, the woman who literally survived death. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, you are valid. You are worthy.